This is Neutral Ice.
Here's Emerson Edom now. Edom steps in. He has one. Look at the move. Edom in there. What a goal by Emerson Edom to tie the game.
It's loose in front. Look out. Shot. Score. Hagelin ends the game. Ends the series.
The other way. Here's David Jones. Takes the shot. Rebound. Ferland can't bury it. Loose puck. Stage and scores.
Buffalo's best hockey show every Monday night.
Now Granlund gets it through a chance here. Seemingly rebound. Parisi score! Onto the back. It's Keith. Keith takes the drive. Fakes it again. Drive. Score! Looking towards the front. Goes back. But score! Gallagher. First time in the series, Montreal scores the opening goal. Gallagher gets it.
Now, here are your hosts, Nick Lippa and Jack Sullivan.
A week and a half ago, I got bad news, and today I got terrific news. So I'm really excited to be part of this organization. It has a long and rich history. I have thoughts, I've got ideas, I've got a lot of things going on in my head. And once I start talking to Bob and to Kevin, each passing day you get more energized and you get more ideas.
On Buffalo's original alternative, 91.3 FM WBNY.
91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982, brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee. You just heard some stuff from the Edmonton Oilers talking about Peter Chiarelli coming to help the Edmonton Oilers turn around. He got a jersey and everything, Brayton.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, isn't it fancy? We're joined here in Studio B today with Chris Kowalchuk, Joe DiBiase, and, as always, Frank Akuri.
What up?
All right. Well, that's how you start a show there, with the what up. That being said, again, we're going to start off the show talking about Peter Chiarelli as, again, Edmonton with the number one pick. If you haven't been living under a rock, you've seen that. And Connor McDavid putting on an absolutely disgusting goal for most accounts yesterday.
I'm sick. I want to throw up.
I believe that's how most people felt. A shorthanded goal, just showing off more of his speed and his ability to finish once he's turned down the Jets. So anybody want to just get it out of your system now? Thoughts on that?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that I've had time to process it, it's okay.
I feel a lot better
Sure,
now
you
that
were
Peter
still
Chiarelli
complaining
is
about it
going
before.
to Edmonton now instead of it being Craig McTavish and Kevin Lowe, because now we got a guy that's going to run not only the hockey operations side, but also be the general manager. So I'm happy with that. Good for Peter Chiarelli. Good for the Edmonton Oilers. Good for Connor McDavid especially, because if it was going to be run by Kevin Lowe and Craig McTavish anymore, I'd still be feeling like complete garbage about the whole situation right now.
Kind of ironic that the best thing to ever happen to Craig McTavish as general manager cost him his job as general manager.
You know, I like Edmonton. I think they're stepping in the right direction, but I worry, and I think this is a real conversation to have about this conversation. I worry about Chiarelli. I mean, let's talk about Chiarelli for a second. Is he the right guy for the job in Edmonton if you had to choose right now? Now, we all believe he's an upgrade over McTavish, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, that being said, one of the things he did in Boston, and he did recently, was he traded away very good players and did not get much in return. And that included trading Tyler Seguin and Boychuk to the Islanders, which was the difference between the Bruins missing the playoffs and the Islanders making the playoffs, who are playing in Game 7 tonight against the Washington Capitals, and that is our game of the night. So if you hear a goal score, Brayton will do his part and make it live. So currently 0-0 right now, as we are 5.5 minutes left in the first period. That being said, do you guys think Chiarelli's the right man for the job in Edmonton?
I just worry because he's traded away young talent in the past, like Sagan, and he did it with Kessel even. I mean, I don't think there's a chance he's going to trade this pick, but, I mean, maybe he has a quick trigger when it comes to young forwards if they don't develop quickly.
The one thing I'm not asking about the first pick. Edmonton, I don't think there's any scenario where they trade the first pick at this point.
No, there's no scenario.
It's not going to happen. The real thing to be scared about if you're an Oilers fan is seeing a guy like Nugent Hopkins get traded out the door for potentially veteran talent that will depreciate at a very, very faster pace. It will just not be good for the long-term future.
There's been a lot of talk recently just about any of their top forwards being traded. Will it happen? I don't know. I mean, if Peter Chiarelli wants to go out and acquire a top defenseman, which the Edmonton Oilers do not have, that's probably going to be a very big topic, is maybe trying to trade away one of his top forwards in order to get their top defenseman.
Yeah.
It's a possibility because they need that defenseman. Not only that, but they also need goaltending, and I think that Chiarelli, that's probably going to be on the top of his list too, is go out and get a number one goaltender for sure this year.
And O'Connor hasn't signed yet, so we'll see where he ends up.
O'Connor has been talking with Edmonton too, so that's a possibility.
It is, but he may not be NHL ready his first year.
Maybe not, but I mean, the size is there. He's got an off season to work at it, so I mean, it's a possibility, especially with Edmonton. Knowing Edmonton, anything is possible with that team.
I think O'Connor could do some good in the NHL. However, all those things you just said could be said for Anders Lindback, which is not necessarily a good thing.
Anders Lindback starting goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers in 2015-2016.
Size is there. He's got an off season to work with the good goalie coach. Come on, let's get on the Anders Lindback train, guys.
It's a bold strategy.
That being said, that is a major concern if you're talking about this with Edmonton. A guy like Nail Yakupov or Draisaitl, I think those are the kind of guys you want to trade in this situation to get a top defenseman.
They just re-signed Yakupov, so that's probably not going to be an option.
It's a 2-year deal. It doesn't mean you can't use him as a piece to trade.
Well, yeah, of course.
All I'm saying is that you're going to have to give up something to get a top defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
So who's it going to be? And really, who is it? Because I think most Oiler fans right now, they're going, God no, God no, God no, do not trade Taylor Hall. That'll be the end all. If you see Taylor Hall go, even if it's like for somebody like Shea Weber, somebody's going to crap their pants and throw something through a window. Taylor Hall is just that good. He really is. He's a terrific player. And a guy like Nugent Hopkins is still a terrific player. People go, oh, you got Derek Roy now, and Draisaitl's coming up, and you're going to get McDavid. It's like, no, the center depth is not. Draisaitl does not. He is nowhere near NHL ready at this point. And Derek Roy is, again, he's a veteran presence basically to help Yakupov and that team be better. He's a really great, maybe overachieving second liner, third lining kind of center. So the realism of it right now is that I'm asking you guys, where do you draw the line right now for who gets traded in Edmonton? Who's your guys?
I think Eberle's more likely to get moved than any of the other forwards.
I think Eberle's right at the top of the list of potential forwards to be traded. Eberle's been talked about of trades for the past 2-3 seasons now.
It kind of feels like the Hemsky thing. Like Hemsky
exactly
was there forever before he got traded.
Yeah, and
he was talked about forever too.
Eberle would be a great piece to include in a deal if you want to get a top 2 defender in the league. Yeah. And I think that if Peter Chiarelli can swing a trade, Jordan Eberle would be the main piece of it. However, the main piece coming back would be that top 2 defenseman. Don't know who it would be, but the talk would be there. Yeah, exactly.
So how much? I think I agree with you guys on that because Nugent Hopkins and Hall, those are the guys, if I'm Edmonton, I really want to keep.
Yeah.
I really, really want to keep. So Eberle, I don't have as much of a problem parting with if it means you're going to get the top-end defense that you need because that's what you need. If you're Edmonton, you're not winning until you get a top defender.
There's also some, speaking of Edmonton, their goaltending situation's a little hectic right now. I just saw a GIF from Pete Blackburn in Boston where Peter Mrazek made this just incredible stick save. Boyle had him deked out of his underwear, just reached back with his paddle of his stick and just knocked it down, made the save. That's an interesting situation. Here's why. Jimmy Howard is under contract with the Detroit Red Wings for probably what? They re-signed him last year, 2 years ago?
I think
and he's
last year.
he's under contract for like 4 or 5 more years.
Yep.
Yeah.
If Peter Mrazek is playing this well right now, he could be the starter next year, and Howard would be out the door. Exactly.
They still have Gustafsson too, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, he's a free agent at the end of the year, but they also have
so
they've got goaltending.
They've got goaltending, yeah,
After
exactly.
This year, Howard signed for another 4 years.
Yeah, another 4 years. And if Peter Mrazek is the guy, I mean, he's looking like he's the guy of the future right now for the Red Wings.
Oh, absolutely.
I think there's no doubt in my mind Jimmy Howard's name is going to be available this offseason.
Yeah. It is the same argument we talked about last week for the Chicago Blackhawks. If a guy not named if Corey Crawford wasn't going to be the starter on that team next year with cap issues. You could see a lot. People were looking at this goalie free agency class. You're going, it's not very strong. However, the trade market at the draft for goalies, goalies could be flying around,
especially with the Oilers' second first overall pick. I believe that is number 16 in the draft, 15 or something like that in the draft from Pittsburgh. They could absolutely move that one to acquire number one goaltender. And Jimmy Howard, he's probably worth a first round. It's almost like a Corey Schneider situation where it could be just a player for first round pick swap.
Ryan
very
Miller,
similar.
Possibly. Ryan Miller could be another guy that might be moved.
I
don't know. It depends because I mean, the way Lack played, you would like to think they want him to be the starter going forward.
I don't think Miller gets moved right away.
Yeah. But
it's going to be a battle.
If Vancouver trades a goalie, it's likely going to be Markstrom.
Markstrom's a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah, Markstrom had, by the way, a phenomenal season in the AHL. I like him as an idea for the Sabres to sign. Maybe not to be the starter right away, but he had a great season.
He wants to be in the NHL, though. I don't think Markstrom is going to sign a deal unless it's to be a backup or starter in the NHL.
I would give him a one-way deal, but we also don't have
Chad Johnson.
Know what we're gonna get here.
Chad Johnson.
I would be okay with Johnson and Markstrom. That would be like my plan, like D though.
We'll see. But mainly talking about all this right now and going back to what it is, goalies could fly. And Edmonton, yes, they need a goalie, they need some defense, but it's gonna be interesting to see who they trade and when they trade them. Eberle, I think, is a guy you have to trade if you're Edmonton as far as realistically getting the value you want. The real question I have, though, is if you're trading Eberle, how much is he actually worth at this point when everybody knows you're buying and they're selling? And that's the question I want to know from you guys. I have Jordan Eberle. I want a top 2 defenseman from you. What do I have to give? That's a tough. It's not an easy question. I mean, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot personally, and it's just really hard to approach. You top 2 defenders, they are not easy to come by. Very hard to come by.
I wonder if Chiarelli, I don't know, I doubt Eberle would be involved in this, but I wonder if Chiarelli wants to maybe make a move to get Chara from Boston.
Chara
Boston wants to get out from under that contract.
I don't see any way that Chara comes back with Boston next year, really, unless there's like a restructuring type thing. I really don't.
Which could happen.
I don't know if that he has such a big cap hit, and Boston has so many cap problems, and he was plagued with injuries last year. It makes no sense for him to come back.
Getting rid of Chara would absolutely help with their cap situation right now because, yeah, as you said, they've got a very big problem. I mean, not re-signing Paille and Gregory Campbell helped to an extent, but their contracts at that point weren't even that big. No. So, yeah, maybe a trade with Zdeno Chara would be the best option.
And the Oilers got the cap.
Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah, they got to try and re-sign Dougie Hamilton, and that might not even happen either.
And Soderberg if they want to keep him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Edmonton does have the cap room if they wanted to take on Chara. I mean, he wouldn't really fill in, I don't think, as a top-pairing defenseman.
Boston might not be a playoff team next year. They might be at one of the. They might be in the bottom 10.
I don't think they are going to be a playoff team next year, and I'm not sure they make the playoffs for the next 2 to 3 years because of what they've put themselves in as far as the depth and as far as their aging players where they are. They're going to have to go through, I think, a little bit of a reloading season at one point. I'm not sure next year they're even in a position with how hurt they are by the cap. That's the dangerous part about Boston. They're going to have to pay their salaries and then reload to get better.
And after next year, they'll have Lucic, Eriksson, Chris Kelly, and Max Talbot all will be up for contracts too.
Same thing with
so they'll have to make a decision on guys like those if they want to keep those veterans around or if they do want to go for the rebuild. Because Eriksson will be in his 30s, Lucic will be getting up there. I mean, they're going to have to make up their minds.
And and you know what? A very good offseason this year could really help that as well. So you never know. Maybe Boston pulls some magic where they make a couple of really great trades. Who knows what happens if you see a guy like Lucic and Chara get traded somewhere for a player like Eberle in some kind of situation. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, we just cleared up a lot of cap room here for this instance.
If I were the Bruins, I would be asked, like, if they wanted to acquire a top-notch defenseman from, like, I mean, if the Oilers, if Peter Chiarelli goes out and wants the rights to Dougie Hamilton,
would you do it for Eberle straight up? It kind of makes sense for both sides.
Yeah, Dougie Hamilton is a pretty good player. However,
Dougie Hamilton's also going to call for a contract that's probably going to be way above the $4 million per.
Oh yeah, he's going to want a big contract.
Eberle's is $6 million. Do you think it would be above that?
Well,
no.
that that would hurt.
Dougie Hamilton's contract?
Yeah.
It would have to be a pretty big deal because, I mean, Boston's got to get rid of some cap, and if they're taking on Jordan Eberle's cap, they got to get rid of it somehow. So you might. So if Chiarelli swings a deal with the Bruins somehow, it's going to be a blockbuster. I mean, it would have to be a blockbuster deal because you got to get rid of some cap if you're going to take on some cap.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, Brighton. Edmonton's in a tricky situation right now with where they're going to have to go to build defense, but there's a couple of teams in a tricky situation with cap, and Boston is one of them. So we'll see where the NHL plays out with those, and we're interested to see where the Oilers go because it's still unknown exactly how everybody's going to handle the front office in Edmonton. I mean, Chiarelli, we have a good idea what he's going to be handling, but we don't know everybody's position in the role, like how much influence each person will have. Nobody is quite sure how influential Craig McTavish is going to be in comparison, We're still in that kind of awkward transition phase, I think, if we're Edmonton right now, and we're just kind of playing the waiting game to see what happens. So very interesting stuff. And it'll be interesting to see what the Sabres do. You're going to see all these players come onto the market. The Sabres need a goalie. The Sabres have the cap space. Oh, my. Yeah, and you're watching this game as well. Tampa Bay's up 2-0 currently against Detroit in the second period. So we're gonna wait to see how this game turns out as well. Why is this series not at Game 7 yet? Like, why are we at Game 6 when everybody else is basically done?
It's a good question.
It's the way
it might maybe travel. I feel like those two teams have the farthest distance between each other.
Maybe next to Anaheim, Winnipeg.
Yeah, that would be the only reason I could think of, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, tomorrow's a day off, no?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, tomorrow, yeah.
And
if Tampa wins, then Game 7 would be Wednesday.
Everybody else is playing the waiting game essentially. Somebody screwed up, I think, schedule-wise. There's got to be some reason. I'm missing something, I think.
Tomorrow will just be like a catch-up homework day, and then you can get back on with hockey.
Yeah,
correct.
I guess so.
For everybody here at Buff State, it would be a catch-up day. I mean, but I'm sure there's probably students that aren't watching the NHL playoffs.
No, I'm pretty sure everyone is.
All right, well, let's talk about the World Championships, and let's get to that so we can talk about, because we're going to talk about the playoffs the second half of the show and some of the early outcomes and some of the games going on right now. The World Championships, what's going on? Let's talk. Brayton, give a brief history about the World Championships over the past couple of years. Like, what's the team roster usually comprised of for the World Championships?
Pick a name out of a hat. There's your roster.
Usually, it's pretty random. It's not necessarily they're not Olympic teams.
It's basically whoever wants to play.
Yeah. So, that being said, what's happening this year that's different from that?
Jack Eichel's playing for Team USA.
That's a big thing. Also, the other teams are much, much better than previous years as far as talent is concerned for the most part. I mean, let's talk about Team Canada, Joe.
You got Sidney Crosby, who hasn't played in the World Championship since 2006.
Last year that the Penguins didn't make the playoffs.
True. That's true. Tyler Seguin will be on the team. Claude Giroux, Jason Spezza. Goaltending-wise, it's not the cream of the crop, but you've got elite forwards all up and down Canada. I mean, Tyler Ennis might be on their fourth line. I would be surprised if Harry Snaps makes the team. But yeah, then for USA, I mean, you got Eichel, Seth Jones is going over. Finland just announced Pekka Rinne is going to be starting for them. I mean, you've got great talent going all over. Even Czech Republic's got Voracek and Jágr.
My theory on this, I said this outside too, is that the NHL players really want to play in the Olympics in 2018, and this is like a good movement to say that they're all in for international play.
It's a bold strategy.
We'll see. A lot of talk has been there with the tournament coming up next year. And who wants to talk about that? Frank, let us in. What's going on next year in hockey?
World Cup of Hockey.
World Cup of Hockey. Joe, what's that going to be like?
It's going to be
awesome.
Awesome. Great. The U23 team. I'm all in on them.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting concept.
I honestly don't like the U23 team. I think it's stupid.
See, I like the all European, like the European team.
I don't want to see like McDavid play against Canada and Eichel play against the United States. Or
I do.
See, I think
like there's even guys like Seguin still under 23.
You know what?
But he'll be on Team Canada.
Chris, you know what's great about it is it's a counter to an all-star team. You're going to have an all-star team, then you're going to have the U23 team that's going to have more of an idea. I'm going to build a team as a team. And that really interests me in seeing how that's going to turn out.
And the European team will be interesting. Like, you'll have Gergensen and Kopitar.
I'm totally okay with it if and only if that the players continue to play in the Olympics.
See, another thing I like about the World Cup is even though these two teams they're kind of weird and out there a little bit, the competition is going to be better because that U23 team and that All Europe team, or the other European countries, like those teams are going to be better than like Austria or Latvia or any of those teams on their own. So the competition will be better.
It'll be very interesting to see. And
I'm picking Team Latvia as the winner of the World Championships just because of grit and compete alone.
Gergensons, Zemgus Gergensons. Oh man, I love it. I love it. So that's going to be interesting to see. But again, it's going to be hard to judge too. A guy like Jack Eichel. It's kind of unfortunate for him. There's not much talent in comparison on the USA to everybody else. As you look at Canada's team, like we said, I mean, Dallas has half of their Dallas, and who was the other team that's got like half their players on
Edmonton.
it?
They got Hall, Nugent Hopkins, Eberle.
Yeah. So it's like the Dallas Stars, Edmonton Oilers collective team of all-stars.
And then the Flyers also have Couturier, Giroux, and Braden Shen.
Yeah.
And then also Voracek for Czechs.
And then for USA, you're like, yeah, Mark Arcabello probably going to be on a line with Jack Eichel. Woo.
Do you think that Wheeler and Bufflin might play now?
I would love to see that. Chris, I know you love Blake Wheeler, and personally, I really like him too.
And I think Bufflin should be on Team USA consistently. I think he should have been on the Olympic team last year.
Too many sucker punches, Joe. Too many sucker punches.
Sometimes you need a good sucker punching.
Oh my God.
What are you, a Todd Bertuzzi fan?
Oh,
all right.
That's extreme.
I wish Trouba wasn't hurt.
Oh man.
Let's see him play.
I'm just looking over this like leftover European team. Like this team is gonna be like a contender. Like you got Hossa, Gaborik, Vanek, Kopitar, Zuccarello, like Chara, Ehrhoff. Like there's a ton of talent that's going to be on these teams.
Well, we're going to see what happens. When are the World Championships, Joe?
September 2000. Oh, World Championships?
No. Yeah, May 1st through May 17th.
Yes. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. Sorry. So that'll be interesting to see.
Oh, no, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to set it up so people know. So it's going to be May 1st through May 17th. And those games are going to be able to be viewed on NBC, apparently, to the American
all
games.
The United States games are on NBC Sports.
And there it is, folks. Oh, the big bro sandwich of hugs there for Tampa Bay. That was basically as close to
Anybody
love
want
making
to take
as you
a
get
guess
on
at
the
who
ice.
scored? It's pretty obvious. It's the Detroit Red Wings killer,
Tyler
Johnson.
And the Tampa Bay Lightning go up 3-0. 3-0 lead for the Lightning.
There will be Game 7.
Most likely.
We can all hope that
unless Ryan Miller takes net for the Lightning, there will definitely be a Game 7. So, speaking on Ryan Miller, we're going to talk about that absolutely terrible collapse for Vancouver last night, or 2 nights ago, sorry. More next.
Remielli, opportunity to clear, and he does get it past Borman. Here's McDavid, short-handed, on a breakaway, crowd on its feet. McDavid scores!
Good thing that storage is on digital now. You'll need a few clouds for all the highlights this guy has made throughout the course of the year. Just add that one to the list.
91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982. Brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee. The NHL playoffs. Man, they're fun to watch. The counter opposite of the first round of the NBA playoffs, minus the Spurs-Clippers series. Every series in the first round, even the ones that teams get swept in, like Anaheim-Winnipeg, fun to watch. Something very credible for the NHL playoffs. One of the best times of the year. Obviously, if you're a hockey fan, but even if you're just a general sports fan, there's a very high level of competition and parity among the league, making a series like Tampa Bay and Detroit, which pretty much all of us thought Detroit was going to lose this one and wasn't going to put up much of a fight. We were wrong, and this is looking like it's going to end up going to Game 7, which will be played in 2 days. So something to be said about the NHL playoffs, as almost every series we watched, you could see it go either way. Is that fair to say? For the most part, besides the Rangers, maybe? Is that fair to say?
It would help if I turned on everybody's mic.
Yes, it would.
Mm-hmm.
You want to add to that, guys?
Yeah, I think we were just
I agree.
agreeing with you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear anything.
Well,
the
yeah, that's
mics
Because
were
I
on.
forgot to turn on the mics. I
Thanks,
apologize.
Brayton.
Thanks, Bray.
No, but yeah. So every series, but let's go through and talk about some of them. The Rangers beat the Penguins. I'm pretty convinced. It just
Every game in the
words.
series was 2-1, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah,
but
still.
you were being every game. Oh my God, I have no words today. The the Rangers seemed they were in control for pretty much every game. The one game that the Penguins won, Crosby played out of his mind, and Fleury kept them in games. He did a pretty good job this series. So the Rangers, however, they were the better team in the series. I think everybody saw that. My question to everybody is, Rangers still Cup favorites in the East?
You'd have to think so.
Likely, yes.
I think if Detroit wins, the Rangers can easily get to the Cup.
And Frank, you say likely yes.
The only other team that would compete with them would, at this point, be Montreal.
I think if Tampa
If
wins,
Tampa,
they'd be
unless
alright.
Tampa wins.
I don't even see Montreal having a chance unless Carey Price is that good.
Capitals
I
and
mean,
Islanders
he's
have both
Carey
looked
Price.
decent too.
We
So-
see. Continue.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
We see it all the time, and we'll talk about Carey Price actually next. But we see it all the time with goaltenders carrying their teams, and it usually only lasts so far. A goaltender usually can't carry their team past the conference final standing on their head alone. So that's something where I don't see the Canadians getting through, especially after watching. I mean, did everybody watch the end of that Senators-Canadians game in Game 6? The Senators were close to scoring like 4 times at the end of there.
If Zibanejad could lift the puck one of 3 times, that game was going to overtime.
Yeah.
Like, they got a little bit lucky, and they got saved by Price because he played out of his mind.
He did. Price played terrifically, and the Senators just couldn't find the back of the net in that game. You're talking about
they did, but the whistle blew.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah, and then Price's helmet came off at a very convenient time at the end of that game, and the Sens scored, but the whistle had blown. So, again, Canadians, we'll talk about them in a second, but looking at this right now, the Rangers, I mean, the only team that I think can really compete with the Rangers is a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they have to have improved goaltending. They cannot have the games where Ben Bishop has just not shown
Detroit
up.
just
Yeah,
scored.
Tatar just scored.
And there you go, as I say it.
Power
It's
play.
now a 3-1 game. Detroit gets on the board in the second period. Oh, man. That's good timing.
Feed on Twitter is faster than the stream of the game.
Yeah.
So
NBC Sports. You know, we kind of work. That being said, that is true.
It is true.
That being said, Rangers, Penguins, pretty straightforward. Going to the Canadians and the Ottawa Senators. What are your guys' thoughts on the series? I think Ottawa played terrifically. They surprised a lot of people.
Anderson.
They came back. Anderson played wonderfully. Really, really
He just
great.
knows how to beat the Canadians. He just knows how to beat them.
It makes it interesting to see what Ottawa's going to do with their goaltending in the offseason.
I think
too.
I think Lehner might get moved.
Lehner's going to almost have to get moved.
Which is
Lehner
like,
will get traded, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna re-sign the Hamburglar and
Yeah.
then trade Robin. Lehner.
Goalies will fly.
There's probably such a flip too because I mean coming into the season especially Ottawa probably was thinking Lehner's their guy for like the next like 5-10 years.
Yeah.
And suddenly now it's Hammond and Anderson. Like I mean I would be interested in any of them as a Sabre fan. But Ottawa played even despite their goaltending or other than their goaltending, they played a really good series. Even yesterday when they didn't score, like they still managed to get 45 shots on net. Like they played well.
Well, they played a very, very good game, but Carey Price just outlasted them. When you go 3-0 in the hole, it's really hard to come out, and Ottawa almost did it. If that game, honestly, Ottawa was playing better hockey than the Canadians for the majority part of that game. Just Carey Price was better. So I would have loved to see what would happen if that would have gone to Montreal for Game 7. However, didn't happen. So Canadians move on, and we'll see where they go. But I think our feelings as a neutralized crew right now are that the Canadians are totally dependent on Carey Price. Fair to say?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just no doubt. No doubt.
I thought their D did play pretty well throughout the series. Like they were a little inconsistent, but I liked Subban in the series at least.
And I think Jeff Petrie,
Yeah.
doing some really good stuff. He's paying off.
Markov looked very slow though. Like even yesterday, he got burned by Carlson in his own end, and he was unable to get back. Like, there's still some holes, though, in that back end.
There is. I think Petrie may be the difference. That move to get Petrie, that very well may be the difference for the Canadians winning the first series and moving on to the next part of the playoffs. So we'll see with that and how that goes. I'm curious to see with how the Canadians handle everything else in the future, because they seemed really good offensively. Petrie was doing good defensively, but I just, for some reason, there's something wrong when you watch the Canadians. Just nothing pops out at you. Like, there's no wow factor at all on as that team. They just seem to be a team that kind of grits out these wins. There's also something, and one of those things is Torrey Mitchell. Everybody kind of forget that Torrey Mitchell, because the trade was like, oh, wow, the Sabres traded Torrey Mitchell and kept his contract and got a 7th-round pick for him. So why did we trade Torrey Mitchell?
And Jack Nevin. Let's not remember the AHL goon Jack Nevin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're not forget.
But let me ask you guys this question right now, because Mike Harrington was tweeting about it a lot, and it led to some very interesting conversations. Harrington tweeted a lot about how he felt that Torrey Mitchell, Sabres could have got more for Mitchell, that he's worth more than a 7th-round pick, and his justification was, look at Torrey Mitchell playing the most important faceoff of the entire series at the end of the game. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, it's tough to say. Because
you don't know his market value.
Yeah. You don't really know what his... Yeah,
Make an evaluation. You are a prospect GM. What do you give up for Torrey Mitchell, in your opinion?
I would give up a 4th-round pick. And
Probably
I don't know if that's a huge difference.
Mid-round at most.
Like, if Murray's not getting the value he wants at the deadline, he was probably just like, oh, I got to move him, so I might as well just take whatever I can get. I mean, Montreal did get a good deal for him, but I don't think it was ludicrous.
I would have traded for the mascot for the Canadians for Torrey Mitchell.
I love their mascot.
You know, I think it's really interesting that Mitchell, he went for a 7th-round pick, and, the Sabres hold on to his salary. I don't think it's a very good argument, because the holding on to the salary, Sabres, that should be of no concern for the Sabres. It affects them nothing at all. It's not a cap hit that's going to hurt them in the future. I look at that deal and I go, maybe you could have got a 6th or 5th round for Torrey Mitchell. Maybe like they did Flynn from the Canadians.
Yeah.
However, I also look at the end of the game, and Mitchell could not win a faceoff to save his life at the end of the game at all. Ottawa got multiple opportunities at the end of the game. So I'm watching that, and I'm reading this Twitter feed, and I'm like, well, if Mitchell is worth so much more and is so talented, I mean, he's playing on the 4th line for the Montreal Canadiens, and he's not doing the best job. So I'm not as high on Mitchell. A lot of the arguments that go to counter that is that, well, Mitchell was a 2nd-line center here in Buffalo, to which everybody here should counter.
It was a tank squad.
Historically one of the worst rosters. Yeah. He is a 2nd-line center, so fair enough.
Congratulations. You were better than Matt Ellis and Zach Dolphy.
So
congratulations.
By the way, quick fun fact on Montreal. They're the only team in the NHL without a forward being paid more than $5 million.
I find that hard to believe.
They make up for it in cap space with PK Subban's.
Pacioretty makes 4.5 over the next 4 years. Galchenyuk's an RFA, so he might get over that. But at the moment, they don't have one.
I could see him getting, or I could see Montreal getting him. For
Montreal has done mostly a good job of signing players to decent deals. But Jeff Petrie's also a guy you may see get a big deal coming up from Montreal as well.
So humongous big.
I would say Petrie's probably going to be over $5 million, I would say.
Which is not.
Subban's got 9. Markov's at 5.7, which is not that great a contract.
Petrie may be at 5.
They also have Yemlin, who is 4.1.
Is that crazy to think Petrie could get $5 million?
No, I could see it. They don't have a lot invested up front. They've got a little bit of cap space. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm just making sure I'm not sounding like a nut here, which is I usually do. So
I think you're
good.
But
that being said, we're gonna move on from that series. Great series for the Senators and the Habs. It was a terrific series, and honestly, I hope Ottawa can compete next year, because I love some of their young players, including Hoffman and Stone. Those guys are fun to watch. And Ryan played well as well. Like, everybody forgets about that. Like, he's just kind of this star playing for Ottawa. But Minnesota and St. Louis, and we got to talk about this one because, dear Lord, arguably the 2 best teams in the West get faced off in the first round, and a terrific series of games.
There's a million former Sabres playing in it.
There's a million former Sabres.
Literally.
Minnesota comes
So
out.
humongous big.
Minnesota comes out 4-2, and Dubnyk is a Vezina finalist. How you guys feeling?
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about a Minnesota team that he came in and just they caught fire faster than Jennifer Lawrence in a Hunger Games movie. So it was just ridiculous that, man, the energy is just not here for that kind of joke tonight. It's ridiculous. And in the Wild, they're talking about they feel like they have something special going here, and they have a very, very well built roster for this playoff run. I think it's the best way to put it. They have a lot of depth. They have a solid defensive core, and they have a very hot goaltender in Dubnyk.
I have the Wild going to the Cup Finals.
For me, it was either the Blues or the Wild who were going to go to the finals. Looking at the West, I mean, I have no faith in Anaheim / Calgary, Vancouver to really get anything done. In all honesty, the only other team I think that could beat the Wild at this point would be the Blackhawks.
And they don't exactly have a goaltender right now because they don't know who to play. They're going to start Corey Crawford, but Corey Crawford didn't look great in Game 1 and 2. Then he comes in for Game 6 after Darling gives up 3 goals, and now it's back to Corey
They're
Crawford.
pretty much right back at square one.
Yeah, exactly.
Flippity floppity boo. Boop.
If you look at Minnesota, I would say they have the best center depth of the teams that are left right now because Koivu, Coyle, Granlund, and Brodziak, you're getting production from all 4 of those guys. If you look at like Chicago, they're really only getting good production from Taze, and Richards has been decent too, but past that, they don't have.
They've scratched Vermette for a handful of games, which is surprising to me. But
also
the fact is that if Chicago cannot score in this series, I mean, they're going to have to get production from everybody on the ice, including the goaltenders. And who knows what's going to happen with the goaltenders? I mean, if they can't score goals, then this series might be over. I mean, 5-6 games. I mean, Devin Dubnyk stands on his head like he's done multiple times this season and a couple of times in the series. Game over. I mean, Minnesota should walk out of that series pretty easily.
They're gonna have to find a way to slow down Parise too, because he's been an animal all year.
You're killing me.
He's been very, very good. The Wild built on depth. Yep. The Blues built with a little more star power at the forward. When you look at a guy, they were really carried by Tarasenko and Shattenkirk, and they didn't have what they needed from their goalie to help carry them with the star power that they had. And in the end, Minnesota's depth overcame them.
That second goal that Jake Allen gave up yesterday was just
It was so funny.
Garbage, just tire fire.
It was so funny because right before Ken Hitchcock was being interviewed, and he's just like, so, you know, he let up a kind of a shaky goal on the first one, and he's just like, yeah, Allen's our guy. He lets up another goal, and they changed it.
You know, 904 save percentage in the playoffs. And that's tough if you're a Blues fan looking at that because you go, wow, this could have been our year. I mean, think if Allen plays better in this series. That's really the main difference I think it comes down to. They needed Allen to make some more saves in this series, and he didn't come up with them.
They also didn't get a lot of production from, like, their forwards. They got nothing from guys that weren't Tarasenko, like Backus, Schwartz, Oshie. Like, they did not help at all in scoring wise.
So does that sound familiar to another scenario St. Louis had last year?
Yeah, they're big guys. Their big guns are not getting it done for him in the playoffs.
That being said, Tarasenko did get it done in the playoffs. 6 goals and an assist.
Ugh. Yeah,
he's disgusting.
The rest of the team, I think, if I saw this right, had the same amount of goals as Tarasenko did.
It's sort of like a similar situation with the Lightning right now. Tyler Johnson has 6 goals in this playoffs, where the rest of the Lightning have 7.
Yeah. So the Blues will have a lot to think about. It's good news for Sabres fans who the Blues will have a pick somewhere between 22 to 25 if the Islanders could potentially give them like a 17-18
Islanders,
pick.
yeah, the Islanders, if they lose, I believe they're going to finish in
20th. I
thought I saw 18th or 19th, depending on what happens with the Red Wings.
Yeah.
That's right. I think
if the Red Wings lose out the rest of the series, I think the Islanders pick 19th. But if they win out if the Red Wings move on, they pick 18th or something like that. I don't know what it is.
I'll see if I can find it.
So we'll see.
Yeah, Joe DiBiase doing some work.
Yeah, but 26, to my understanding, 26th through 30th is conference finals. Those are where they go. 27th to 30th. It's conference finals.
Yeah.
So after that, it's division winners get seeded, which is where St. Louis would be.
Yeah.
that is all fun and games for everybody. And that'll probably end up being Winnipeg's pick because the Islanders would end up facing the Rangers if they do win, and there's almost no chance that they're going to win that series at all. So, and the Islanders would still be lower than the Blues at that point, to the information that I'm coming to understand.
Yeah, it would be.
So,
yes, they can get up to the 18th pick as long as Detroit loses.
Yeah.
If Detroit wins, then it'll be 19.
Okay. So under 20 pick would be great for Sabres fans. Everybody would kind of be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. All right, yeah, I like that.
Give me Konechny.
Yeah. But yeah, so looking at that, Blues have a lot to work on in this offseason. And one of them is, I'm going to mention this right now, Tarasenko.
They got to re-sign him.
He's an RFA. And
I
mad.
if I were Sabres, I would offer him like $12 million an offer sheet. Like, do something.
What do you have to? What do you have to?
It would be $12 million, and you'd have to give up like 4 first-round picks. I'd still do it.
I think that's crazy, Joe.
That's so crazy.
4 first-round picks. You have to think only one of them is going to be like a real good pick.
Honestly, if I'm the Sabres and I want to get Tarasenko, I'm trading that second first-round pick that they have, and probably another forward
for the rights to sign him.
For the rights to sign him. That's just for the rights to sign him.
But the Blues would be absolutely insane to not sign this man to a good contract.
They're much sooner going to explore trading Oshie or Backus or someone like that. Oshie's got a 4.1 cap hit.
That is something to keep an eye on.
Well, I think the first thing that the Blues are going to do is they're going to fire Ken Hitchcock. I don't see how Ken Hitchcock is going to have his job saved after 3 straight years of going out in 6 games in the first round of the playoffs.
If he does get fired, would you be interested in him as Sabres coach?
No.
I would not.
No.
So he's the kind of personality I think that would kind of butt heads with Murray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
The one thing you can count on with Murray is that he's not going to bring in a coach at this point who he doesn't think he can get along with.
No, he's honestly, I think he's waiting until he knows what happens with Detroit. And once Detroit gets eliminated, I think Murray's just like, hey, Mike, come to Buffalo. We want to interview you, and we're not going to let you leave.
So all you Sabres fans out there, start rooting for the Red Wings tonight. Come back and make the play happen. Bounce out the Lightning.
That or just lose the next 2 games and just get this over with and just be like, hey, come on, Mike Babcock, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so it's a win-win for Sabres fans if you want to look at it from that way. So one, potentially, Babcock gets on the market, and now you're talking about coach talks to see where that progresses to.
And a better pick.
So, and the other side is you get a better pick. So, but from the Islanders if they were to lose. But we'll see. That being said, we're going to move on from that. We'll keep an eye on Tarasenko. I'm really interested to see where that progresses. But the Predators lose to the Blackhawks, and man, you feel bad for a team like the Predators. Again, the 4 best teams in the West all played each other, in my opinion. It just sucks. I hated how it was formatted for the West this year because I think the Ducks, while they're a talented team, I think they lose to any of those 4 teams if they face them. Which the Predators, they lose in a 4-2, a really tough series. The Blackhawks played a lot better than I thought they would.
Well, they got Kane back. That was huge.
Kane helped a lot.
Kane was very, very effective for the series.
Hossa is a terrific player.
If Kane's not 100%, he sure doesn't show it. I mean, he looked like he was playing with all fires, what am I trying to say here?
On all cylinders.
Yes, firing on all cylinders. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I've been there tonight.
I believed in Nashville. I was sad.
Yeah, it was tough to see, but again, Nashville is a team, just like Montreal, that depended on their goaltending.
Plus, the injury to Shea Weber didn't help.
That hurts, but again, you look at a team like Montreal, and they're getting carried by Price, and that gets them into the next round. It's only a matter of time for teams like that, where they're getting carried by a goalie, and they're not getting the production they need from the offensive side, and the Predators just didn't have that.
Interesting on Nashville. Come July 1, they will have 9 of their 12 forwards they had in the lineup in the playoffs that they need to re-sign.
Interesting.
That's a lot.
Ribeiro's one of them, right?
Ribeiro's one. Fisher, Matt Cullen, Colin Wilson, Craig Smith, Santorelli, Gabriel Bork, and Cal Renkrock, and Taylor Beck.
Luckily for them, none of them are Philip Forsberg.
Correct. Who was really, he's become their number 1 center, and they really needed that.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Predators. Again, off-season, it'll be fun to watch. However, let's talk about what the Blackhawks do in the playoffs. Can the Blackhawks make a cup run? I know somebody picked the Blackhawks to get there.
Yeah, I did.
All right, and talk about it, man. Come on.
Based on what I saw in the Nashville series, I'm kind of doubting it because they did have a tough I know Pecorine is Pecorine, and they're going to have a tough time scoring on him. But, now they're going to go up against Devin Dubnyk, who's also a Vezina finalist, and they had trouble. The scoring trouble is more likely to continue. Plus, with the goaltend situation, that doesn't help. I didn't see that coming.
They haven't really got a lot of secondary scoring.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is worrisome.
If they don't get good depth scoring, it's like what Brayton said. This will probably be a quick series.
It's very similar to another team that doesn't have the amount of depth scoring you'd like. And we'll move on from the Blackhawks in a second, and we'll talk about that team. But the Blackhawks are going to be very interesting to see. I really think they're the only team at this point that can challenge Minnesota. Does anybody else think there's a team that can really give Minnesota a run for their money? I mean, look, I know
I've yet to see what Anaheim's going to do, but I mean, Anaheim's had one easy matchup. They're going to have another easy matchup.
Yeah. So they're kind of like a dark horse, so you have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, no idea exactly at this point. Their goaltending, they got Frederik Andersen. They're probably going to go ride Frederik Andersen until he starts giving up the goals. And Calgary might give them a bit of fits because Calgary did get some good depth throughout this whole series against Vancouver.
Yeah, Sam Bennett helps.
Yeah,
Stajan was scoring.
Stajan was scoring. I mean, and
Ferland was
Johnny
running wild.
Gaudreau looks awesome. How he doesn't win the Rookie of the Year to me is just beyond me. Everybody's saying like, well, Aaron Ekblad came in as an 18-year-old. I get that, but the fact is that Johnny Gaudreau carried the Flames.
Yeah,
carried the Flames to the playoffs on his back, and he is not a big guy,
especially after Giordano went down with an injury.
Oh yeah, a lot of people were saying Calgary's done, and it's like, nope. There goes Gaudreau.
We were a couple of them. We said we don't think Calgary can do it, especially because they're not a puck possession team. So you look at that and you go, wow. But that's also a problem for Calgary when you look at it right now. Calgary is not a puck possession team, and they're going to be playing a team like Anaheim, who, again, Anaheim's not – I think their record is way better than what they actually are as a team. However, Calgary – it would be great to see an upset. Mm-hmm. But when I see Calgary get outshot 2-1 in a playoff game, they were shot game 5 against Vancouver, that they were outshot 40-something shots to 20.
Game 6, they were resilient. They went down 3-0. They pulled Jonas Hiller for Kari Ramo.
Is that a sign of the Flames being resilient, or really how bad Ryan Miller was in that game?
Well, Miller, I don't think was 100%, and you could really see it. He was giving up rebounds.
That's my point with that, is that a healthy Miller, or in all honesty, a healthy goaltender in general who has rebound control.
They did chase Lack too, though, and Lack was playing really strong going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think
you gotta give him some credit.
I'll give Flames had a lot of.
I give them credit, but when you only come up with 20 shots in a game.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
You
got to do more.
You got to do that. There's no. You don't get to score like on the goaltender and have a goal. You're not going to face in the next series. Is Anderson going to have a save percentage lower than 900?
Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
So you're probably not going to win games like that. And are you going to count on Hiller/Ramo to bail you out with a lot in those situations when another team puts on 4? Do you think that Anaheim has the offensive power to put 40 shots on net? Because I think Getzlaf and Perry alone can do that, because that's what they've been doing. Kessler, Getzlaf, Perry specifically. Those guys are really good. I'm concerned about the Ducks' lack of depth scoring. I am, because it just seems like Perry's a man-child out there. He is really freaky good. But that concerns me. That's why I don't think any of us are really high on the Flames. They have a couple of really young, talented players, some defenders who can put the puck on the net. But besides that, there's something that's missing there, and I think that's going to be the problem that's going to get surfaced in this upcoming series against Anaheim.
Their top line is one of the best in the league, in my opinion, watching them consistently with Gaudreau, Hudler, and Monahan. But, yeah, you're right. Once you look past those three, they don't have a ton that they can really rely on scoring-wise. They got it in the first series, but you can't rely on it. David Jones was scoring. Mason Raymond was giving them offense. Those aren't guys that you can really count on, especially when you're going up against – when you're in the second round of the playoffs.
It's okay, guys. Yuri Hudler is going to save it for us.
Yeah. He's done it.
I'm just not buying it for the next round of the playoffs. I think it's a great story. I think it's awesome for the city of Calgary that they're getting this playoff team. I mean, you think about where Calgary has been in years past, and you're seeing them where they are now. I think it's great. It's great. We're getting to see some Canadian teams in the playoffs make a run, have them do it. Love to see Calgary do it because I miss the old days with Iginla and seeing Calgary play some really good hockey. But I can't buy into it personally. Does anybody see Calgary winning against the Ducks?
I could see them giving them a run, maybe taking it to like 6 or 7. I think Anaheim
I could see
will
that
win,
as
though.
well. I could see that as well, but I don't see them winning.
I do think Anaheim
There
will
has two things have to happen, in my opinion, for Calgary to beat Anaheim. That's Hiller's got to be amazing against his former team, and I want to see what Michael Furlan can do.
He run wild.
What are your
He's got to
thoughts?
run wild.
What are your thoughts, Brayton, on this upcoming series?
I can see this series going. I can see 2 or 3 of the games going to overtime. I just can't see the Flames getting past 5 games.
Yeah.
Anaheim's just too good at home. Calgary, I mean, they've got an awesome home ice advantage too. But again, if Jonas Hiller was not good like he was in the first period against Vancouver, if they don't get more production from their other players besides their top line or top 2 lines, this series is going to end in 5 for me. I got them going home at 5.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that one. I think the Ducks are going to look really good going into that final series against Minnesota or Chicago, and I think it will be Minnesota at this point. But I think Dubnyk is going to push that Minnesota team into to the Stanley Cup at this point. Mm-hmm. I think the Wild are really good. I think the rest of the West should be really scared about what they're going to have to face. That team has I would call the Minnesota Wild the most stable team in the Western Conference. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most balanced too.
Yeah.
It's about the same
really
thing, but
most well
So
balanced.
And if you guys remember, they lost 12 out of 14 in the middle of the season, and to be at the place where they are now is just kind of crazy to think about.
Well, they had a collapse in goal.
But what does that tell you? It's the age-old saying, it's not how you start a season.
That's how you finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Wild are there. 91.3 FM, WBNY Buffalo, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982. Brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee. That being said, does anybody have any further comments really about the Ducks-Winnipeg series besides Winnipeg just getting wiped to the floor, taking dumb penalties?
The fans were fun.
The fans were great.
I wanted, again, and this kills me inside, 0 wins in the playoffs for the Atlanta Thrashers franchise.
I felt bad for Stafford, too,
one.
'cause he had a great series.
Just one, man. Just give him one win.
Nope, 0-8.
Oh, man. Tough. But that also brings up a concern for the Ducks as we talk about in the series. You know, is it Winnipeg? And I do agree. I think Winnipeg's a team that just needs a goalie. Pavlik showed basically, hey, look, I'm still not good. But also that the Ducks were trailing in the third period.
They trailed most of that series.
Every game.
Every game the Ducks, I thought, went into the third losing.
And anybody who's right now listening and is making an argument for the Calgary Flames, they can look at that and go, well, you know what? If the Calgary Flames can hold on to a lead better than the Winnipeg Jets can, I think you can make a justification to me that the Flames could win against the Ducks in the next series. I think it's a really important thing to look at. We've looked at the Ducks, and again, all of us have said at some point that the Ducks aren't as good as advertised. Is that fair to say?
Before the season started, I predict them to miss the playoffs. Like, of course that didn't happen, but I've never been a believer.
Perry is a terrific player. So is Getzlaf and Kessler, and at times they get strong goaltending. But when I'm looking at this team right now, this is a team that trailed, and if Calgary plays, oh my God, I'm going to sound like Ted Nolan. If they play some well-disciplined hockey, go out there, do their job, exactly what they're supposed to do, consistent. And they're a young team, which is why I'm a little skeptical about Calgary. But if they're consistent, that is going to be very interesting to see what happens in that series. I'm more curious, less entertained, but more curious about the Calgary-Anaheim Ducks series because of what I saw from the Anaheim Ducks against the Winnipeg Jets. Let me ask you guys a question as well for Calgary. Who's your coach of the year?
I would give it to Barry Trotz, personally.
Going Washington, that's a strong point. I mean, this is a team that a lot of people have just kind of given up on, and even with Ovechkin coming off one of his worst years of his career, if not the worst year of his career, all of a sudden Ovechkin comes back like a hurricane.
And Backstrom led the league in assists. I mean, at times he wasn't even playing with Ovechkin's line. So, I mean, he got Holtby's playing better. Like, the team's just playing better all around.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. What would you give Brayton?
I'm not sure when they're going to announce the Jack Adams Award finalists because, I mean, they've been announcing finalists every day for the past 4 or 5 days now. I like Joe's point. I think Barry Trotz would be the front runner at this point because, yeah, he took a Washington Capitals team that finished not so great in the league last year, took them and made them into a very strong playoff team. Right now, they're still deadlocked with the Islanders, by the way, 0-0, 6:10 left to go in the second period. But, I mean, he took Ovechkin, made him into to the Ovechkin of old, took Backstrom, made him into the Backstrom of old. Even a guy like Mike Green had a very good turnaround year this year where Green's probably going to get a nice new contract with another team because I don't think the Caps are going to re-sign him.
Real quick, Bob Jones from RDS just looked this up. Said there's 5 names I think in consideration: Cameron, Paul Maurice, I just missed it. Barry Trotz, and Bob Hartley.
And Hartley is my guy. Hartley's my guy. I look at this.
Yeah.
Calgary's a team where they're not a puck possession team, but they overachieved on a huge level this year. And in a game against Vancouver where they were down 3 goals, he made the changes needed to help that team win and seal up the series. Hartley's just done it all year. They've faced adversity in multiple times during the year, whether it's Giordano getting injured, whether it's in the playoffs or down 3-0. It's just that team consistently proved people wrong. And Hartley, I think, is arguably the biggest reason. Look how much youth they have on that team. You talk about it. Goudreau is your arguably your best offensive player, and he is so young. And you're able
21.
able to make this team a winning team with what he's had. I think he's making that team much better than many of the other coaches could. I think he's the most valuable coach this year, personally.
And Monahan's been their first-line center. He's only 20 years old. He's been very disciplined.
Yeah.
Scored 30 goals.
Yeah.
All the young guys have been very responsible.
That's really hard to get your players to perform the way he did. So that's my vote. And I totally see Trot, though, as well. He is a terrific coach as well out of Washington. So
kind of interesting that I haven't really seen Peter Laviolette even brought up. I don't think he should win, but I think he should at least be in the conversation.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about that, Braden?
I don't know. I'm
Peter Laviolette fan.
I hate Peter Laviolette, but I mean,
he should be. He's probably. I would imagine he's probably up for it, but they really, really faltered at the end of the year. They really just fell off the deep end. So I just think that's not going to. I don't think he would win it because of that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I would give it to Ted Nolan, but that's
Ted Nolan.
Well, Ted Nolan did get the job done.
He got the job done.
He did.
Well, we got one more series to talk about, guys. That's Caps and Islanders. One yet to be really determined. Lightning and Red Wings. I think we briefly touched on.
Hockey Twitter right now is going nuts with the fact that there's just been so many plays in this game that have gone that should have been penalties, and the referees just have their whistles in their pockets.
Ovechkin just hit Hickey from behind.
Frank said it was 5. I didn't think it was.
I'd say possibly 5. I'm thinking it more likely should have been a 2, but they didn't call it.
Cronwell elbowed Nesterov, I believe, in the head, knocked the helmet off. Head hit the ice.
His head didn't
left
hit
his
the
feet.
ice.
Cronwell has been. We know
I thought that was a
Cronwell
good
is
hit.
being a good hitter, but yeah, this one's definitely questionable.
I think he
left his feet. Left his feet.
That's the
Principal
problem.
point of contact was the head.
Yeah.
Is
That would
Cronwell
be
going to
rough.
get punished for it? Probably not, but,
That being said, would you rather have them – you always want to make the right call, but would you rather have them not making the call and being overly protective or just letting them play?
Here it is. Watch.
I'd like to see the player's safety be a factor, but I'm watching the Ovechkin hit again on Hickey. That definitely should have been a boarding penalty.
It should have been a boarding, but 5 is outlandish.
Yeah, 5 is outlandish. It shouldn't have been 5. It should have been at least 2.
The refereeing just gets stupid in the playoffs.
You can say it with every sport.
Well, they were showing a replay. What was it when the Lightning and Red Wings were playing Game 5 the other night? A blatant interference call should have been called at center ice when the puck was being dumped in. Stamkos was going after it, and the defenseman just completely just grabbed onto him and just didn't let him go anywhere. It completely missed interference call, and it's. Referees should be calling penalties at the same rate they do in the regular season. It's just nobody wants to see it, but it should be happening. But
yeah,
I love how this year was there was the lowest amount of penalties this year that there's been since the 60s or something, and Gary Bettman attributed it to closer games and teams competing more.
Gary Bettman.
That's not why.
Gary Bettman also said the tank doesn't exist. And
he said it was a media creation.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of has to say that, no?
No, he doesn't have to say that because he just contradicted himself on why there is a draft lottery in the first place.
Yeah.
This Islanders-Capitals game may go 4 overtimes, 0-0, just like 1987 did.
Ye of little faith in Alexander Ovechkin / John Tavares. Those are the two reasons of why this game will not go to 4 overtimes. Those players will find a way to score at some point. One of them is going to get it in the puck, and it's only a matter of time.
Washington is outshooting the Islanders so much.
Washington looks like the better team, and in all honesty, I think Washington is a better team than the Islanders. Islanders are a team, I think that it's been a nice run, but I think that they get swept in the next series if they go to face the Rangers at this point.
It's time to move to Brooklyn, Islanders.
Yeah, I best of wishes. We'll see where this game goes.
I'm actually kind of sad that they're closing the Coliseum. Tailgating at the Coliseum is a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
Terrible arena, but
it's in the middle of
Don't you just want to throw those fold-up chairs at players? Come on, man.
That was kind of funny.
Oh, my gosh.
Islander tradition.
They changed
the Red
it,
Wings
though.
throw
A woman conceived her child in the parking lot of Nassau Coliseum. That was a huge deal.
When was this?
Back in 1980, one of the
and now the kid has season tickets.
Yeah, basically.
Does he really?
No, no. They featured the woman on one of the MSG games. They said, "Oh, this is a good moment." Listen, she's like, "I conceived my son at the Nassau Coliseum, and then we went to see one of the Stanley Cup games, and then like 3 days later, he was born."
Wait, he was
not kidding you. Look it up on YouTube.
You will find him was born 3 days later.
No, conceived. They went later on, like 9 months later. They went to she conceived her son at a concert like the summer before, and then when they were playing in the Stanley Cup Finals, she went to one of the games. I believe it was the game where Bob Nystrom scored in overtime to win the Stanley Cup.
Offsides.
And then 3 days after that, she gave birth.
We all know he was offsides, right? Just making
Thanks for that wonderful contribution, Joe.
You're welcome.
So, that being said,
it's always fun to judge 80s refereeing.
Oh, man.
Totally different game from now.
It is really.
Totally different.
We were talking about how much faster the game is now than like when you're watching it. It's just, wow.
But could you imagine Pat Kane's playing in the 80s?
Oh, God.
Like all his equipment
Those
and
speed
stuff.
players, the speed players would just...
It wouldn't even be fair.
No, it wouldn't.
So some of them would die. Well, let's be real. So let's be straight. So some of them would die. Like Pat Kane also may have been dominant for 3 years and then never played in the NHL again. So we saw some of those players like that in the 90s. What happened to them? You saw them come up and then get a head injury and then man, that sucks.
Yeah, courtesy of Scott Stevens.
I gotta
okay with it.
I gotta ask this: with the winner of this Islanders Capitals series, do you think they even put up a close fight against the Rangers? Because the Rangers looked dominant against the Penguins, very dominant in my opinion.
Caps, I think would.
I don't know.
The Rangers will win game 1, lose game 2, and then win out.
The Rangers are just like elite at every position. I think they beat whoever they play. It would probably be close, but
Zuccarello's out.
That's tough for them.
That's
definitely.
tough,
It's
but
not
he's
going to
their
make a huge
fifth-
impact.
He's their fifth
Right.
in points.
That's why.
Which is
That's why
insane.
it's not going to make a huge impact, but it is still a loss. Because now you're going to have to bump up who? Who's going to have to fill that spot? Kevin Hayes.
And
So
Hayes
you're going
is
to put a young
still
guy
really
in
good.
there.
We're going to see where everything goes with this, but who you guys got winning tonight? Islanders or Caps?
Caps.
I have to go Washington.
Chris?
Brooks Orpik. Bold prediction.
Tonight,
And there it is. Washington takes a 1-0 lead.
It is.
Who was it?
I think that was
Joel
Ward.
Ward.
Getting it done for the Caps.
Finally.
fans.
Yeah, you had to figure that they were bound to score.
Give credit where credit's due for the Islanders.
Joel
goaltending.
Ward continuing to be Game 7 hero forever and ever.
He'll be the new Mr. Game 7 at some point
Man,
when Washington wins the cup.
give credit to the Islanders.
Another goal too.
Another goal.
Detroit. It's 3-2.
Here we go.
No.
who was it? Again?
Yeah, Tatar again.
Are you sure?
Detroit's to defeat 20 seconds.
Come on, NBC. Catch up.
Said Tatar scored.
Wow. Very interesting. We'll see what happens. Man, that would be nuts.
I just want Babcock.
Yeah, it's 3-2.
It's not a guarantee, Joe.
The quest for Babcock.
Oh, man. Joe, why do you want Babcock so bad? Let's go over this right now. Why do you want Babcock so bad?
Well, for one, he is universally seen as either, if not the best coach, one of the best coaches in the NHL. He's made the playoffs every single year that he's been a head coach. He did it with 2 teams. Did it with Anaheim. Did it with Detroit. He's very good at developing young talent. He's done it with Nyquist. He did it with Datsuk early on. I think that would really help with a guy like Eichel coming in. So, and he's not like, I don't feel like he would butt heads with Murray, kind of like Hitchcock or someone like that would. So I feel like he would just kind of be like
and
a
Murray are
perfect fit.
very similar people. It's like, Babcock tells it straightforward. That's the biggest thing about Tim Murray that people love about Tim Murray is that when people want to talk to him about something, he's just very straightforward. You ask him a question, he'll just give you the answer straightforward, nothing doing. And I get that off of Babcock. Babcock, he's not afraid to say like, oh, well, the team didn't do great tonight. I was expecting more from a player like Tatar or Tomas Jurko and just nothing. I mean, so I think that with Babcock, I think that would be a very, very good thing to have, is just a guy very similar to his general manager where he's not afraid to be straightforward.
You also get more respect around the league when you're able to go out and get the top coach. You get him to leave a team in Detroit where he's made the playoffs every year. And that can also draw free agents to come in and play for him. Like, I mean, you're going to be taken more seriously by top-level free agents if Mike Babcock's your coach rather than Luke Richardson. Like, it just is.
The quest for Babcock.
As long as Toronto doesn't.
Toronto wants him as a general manager.
It's like McDavid all over again.
Toronto would make Connor McDavid the general manager.
It's not even close to McDavid, Chris.
I was joking.
Oh.
It was a terrible joke.
Through 40 minutes, the Islanders have 4 scoring chances out of, I think 7 shots.
But their goaltending's kept them in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
somehow, some way, Yaroslav Halak has kept the New York Islanders in this
Buffalo
hockey
Sabre
game.
alum,
in
Euro
elimination
Halak.
games.
hey, you know what? Sometimes you can get it done when you're Halak. Sometimes not, but he's been pretty good this series.
Yeah.
He's still in my eyes, he's an inconsistent goaltender.
He's a legendary Buffalo Sabre.
But it's just not a good joke, Joe. I'm sorry. It
should be.
It's not.
Okay, I'll stop.
It's done.
How many
Stop
shots
it.
do they have again?
Who?
Islanders.
Washington?
They have 4 scoring chances through 40 minutes.
How many shots
So
does Washington
humongous
have?
big.
Washington has 20 shots. And
So-
the Islanders have 7.
Washington is outplaying them to this point.
Yeah, we've
big time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll see where everything.
Oh my God.
Detroit almost scored again.
Well, we'll see where everything goes, but I think that's pretty much going to do it for tonight, as everything's been set where we're going to go. But we're going to watch this Capitals and Islanders game and see what happens with here the Lightning and the Red Wings playing it out as well. Playoff implications on the line. Very, very, very tense stuff right now. It's playoff hockey, guys. This is the best time of the year. A lot of fun. Oh man, it's just you get a month and a half of basically. I mean, when the Sabres aren't in it or your team's not in it, you get to kind of just sit back and enjoy the majority of it.
I said that the only sports playoffs you can get nervous for and not have a horse in the race is hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Although, being a Cubs fan, I have come accustomed to watching other baseball teams.
Right, yeah, you have a horse in the race if it's against a rival.
So, no.
Like, if someone's playing the Red Sox, I'm automatically rooting for the other team regardless of who it is.
It's true. And I mean, for me, the Cardinals, anybody against the Cardinals, you just kind of want to see them fail.
Yeah, Lippa, we've kind of had a bad decade.
Who's your most hated hockey team? Everybody.
Carolina.
Carolina.
Boston.
Carolina.
Rangers.
Never forget.
Carolina. I'm with you, Joe. I'm sorry. I was. Oh man, I do want to bring up a point. Braden Holtby.
I'm looking at you, Chris.
Braden Holtby has over a 940 save percentage in this playoffs. Over 945 actually at this point.
He's amazing.
He's been a top 10 goalie this year.
He's been a top 5 goalie this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to put him in a Vezina race just because of how great Price and Dubnyk and even Rene have been, but he certainly
you can make the
argument.
You can make an argument that Holtby did it over the course of the year, playing and being relied on just as much as a guy like Dubnyk was for the half of the time he was with the Wild.
Right.
However, I can't really make an argument with that. Dubnyk's been terrific, so
Price is
go
gonna
either
get
way
it,
with
though.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Price is 100% going to get
historic
it.
Dubnyk
season.
was
Price may
really
be
good.
MVP.
Yeah.
Okay, might.
Like on a normal year, like Dubnyk would win it maybe it would be like Dubnyk or Holtby, I think.
We gotta just also remember that Sean Burke has had a huge impact on Devin Dubnyk's turnaround.
Dubnyk was good before he got to Minnesota.
Isn't Sean Burke getting interviews for
for a general manager job? He's the assistant general manager right now with the Arizona Coyotes, but a lot of teams are thinking very highly of Sean Burke. I think the Leafs are planning on interviewing him. I'm pretty sure that a few other teams are planning on interviewing Sean Burke for the general manager.
Goalies are becoming general managers.
I just can't wait till Martin Brodeur is the Devils' general manager.
But what is goalies are just becoming? I don't understand it. Like Hextall's a GM, Garth Snow's a GM, Burke might. Apparently, Chris thinks Brodeur will be.
I mean, would it surprise you?
I mean, it's better than 100-year-old Lou Lamoriello.
I mean, Lamoriello was one of the best during his time,
in the early 90s.
When he was just able to get people to hit people. Can't do that anymore.
Comes from an older man's game, Chris.
Yeah.
But that being said as well, last question of the night for everybody. Thoughts on Norris candidates?
For anybody that doesn't know, it's PK Subban, Drew Doughty, and Erik Karlsson.
I just don't like that they always pick the top offensive guys.
I agree.
It's supposed to be a defensive award.
Shea Weber, he deserves to win.
He does.
If there was a year for Shea Weber to win, you were going to make an argument for. His offensive production was pretty good. He played terrific on defense and was one of the biggest reasons, even when Rinne was out, the Predators still finished at the top of the league as far as points.
He's also helped Roman Josi become an incredible defender too.
Yeah. I'm Shea Weber this year. That's my guy, and I don't understand. I don't understand how you look to a guy like Subban when the Canadians were again bottom third in puck possession this year. Doughty, you can make an argument for because he nearly carried the Kings team. I mean, it just seemed like it didn't matter whoever was being thrown at defense. I mean, they had half of the Sabres defense.
I also think Ryan McDonough should have saw some consideration too, but I mean, he just
injury at the beginning of the year hurt.
That's true. I mean, I just feel like he would never get a ton of consideration though because he's
of
not
all
a huge offensive guy.
Of the three this year, it's got to be PK Subban that wins the award. I mean, Drew Doughty had a great year, but look where that team is. They're not even a playoff team right now. And the Senators, it wasn't Erik Karlsson that turned that team around. It was Mark Stone. It was Andrew Hammond.
Hoffman.
It
was all the young guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And
PK Subban's the best of those three candidates, and I mean, none of those three to me should have been in that consideration.
Could you argue, other than Carey Price, Subban's the best player in the Canadians?
Oh, I think so. I mean, another player that played really well this year, in my opinion, was Alex Galchenyuk and Pacioretty.
Galchenyuk.
Those were clearly your two best forwards this season for the Montreal Canadiens.
I'm very much on board for saying Shea Weber is the guy this year.
No, I agree. He's 100%.
The Predators don't do as well as they do this year without Weber playing as good as he is. You know what? I'll say it and I'll throw it out there. Ryan Suter. Ryan Suter's a guy I think should have consideration a lot of the time. He just gets passed over, but he's a guy who you look at some games where he's like, Ryan Suter was out there for like 30 minutes. What?
He does that.
He played
on a consistent basis.
Yes, he consistently plays some of the most minutes in the league to a point that's disturbing. It really is. And he's a guy that has to be considered. I'm with you guys. You know, it's not all about who's going to score the most points. It's about who's going to play the best overall defensive game. Sometimes that means moving the puck. Sometimes that means helping your goaltender out. And let's talk about two of the goaltenders right now that are up for Vezina. Dubnyk, Scott Sterling, and Rinne.
Scott Sterling seems to be up for a lot of awards.
Now that being said, Carey Price is as well for the argument for Subban. But again, I make the argument again that puck possession has been pretty terrible for the Canadians, and Subban's strength is it defense or offense?
We're forgetting Ben Bishop. He's looking like a Vezina candidate in this game.
Is that a joke?
If you didn't pick up on my sarcasm, I don't know what you're doing.
Is that a joke? Is that what that is?
It was a joke.
Your joke is a joke.
Oh, man. And the Lightning, I think, are Bishop doomed. I think that's the best way to put it at this point.
Start Vasilevsky already.
But yeah, we put our 2 cents in.
Actually just tweeted that the Lightning advanced that they should go at Vasilevsky.
Yes.
That being said, 91.3 from WBNY, you're listening to Neutral Ice. That's just about going to do it. Final thoughts from the guys in Studio B about the playoffs tonight and what we expect to see in the upcoming week.
Well, let's go Lightning.
Yeah, let's see another Game 7. That'll be a lot
You guys
of
are
fun.
so
Just all
depressing.
right, just give me 2 teams in the Stanley Cup that are like fresh teams. I don't want to see like these
I still want my preseason.
Rangers and Blackhawks again.
I still
Nope,
want my
Chicago,
preseason.
Tampa Bay.
No, I want to see Tampa, Minnesota. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Minnesota, New York Rangers.
I still want my preseason picks.
Yuck.
Tampa, Minnesota.
I'm still rooting for the Devils, Chris. The dream's alive.
Yeah, we're only like 6 points out of the playoffs.
Bryce Salvador is carrying that team to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Hey, man. Is Zidlicki on that team still?
No, he's on the Red Wings.
Well, I guess we're out of luck. For Chris Kowalchuk, Frank Curie, Joe DiBiase, Brayton Wilson, I'm Nick Lippa. Thanks for tuning in to Neutralize. Tune in every week, Monday at 8 p.m. for the best hockey talk in Buffalo. Next week will be a lot of fun because we'll be talking about coaches or draft picks or something whatnot. And I wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens because, man, the NHL just hasn't been able to sit still. So thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. The quest for Babcock. Stay tuned for Jason P. coming on with Movie Madness. Movie Madness. It's maddening. This is